All right, we're live. I almost forgot to unmute it, but we're live now. Welcome to another episode of Book Club with Caden Kelly. Oh, it has been a long ass week/weekend, but we're here. We've finally made it. This is a new series of books that we're reading. Another 50. We did 50 books over a year. We're going to do another 50 books. So here's the first of many to come. Thanks for showing up. Thanks for listening. I appreciate the feedback and the love that I get from you few who are paying attention regularly. I hope that this content has been inspiring to you and helpful and has pushed you and motivated you to do better by yourself, by your family, by your loved ones, and your career, and your hobbies, and your passions, and all of and everything through your suffering, through your struggle. That's kind of the point of it all, right? That's kind of been the point. So it's what we've been doing. Oh shit! I forgot to hit record. No, it's all right. I know how to fix that. So yeah, much love to you. I'm gonna try when I post this. I'm gonna try to post it as a new season, but I don't know if that's gonna change anything in my. Anyway, I'm gonna post it as a new season. But hey, besides that, you might see if you're watching the video, you might see something fresh. You might see me a new. You might hear it rattle a little. Listen. Wait a minute. It's hard to make it clink. I'm wearing my medal from my Spartan Beast race on Saturday, and that was the toughest 4.5 hours of my entire life. And I said that to my mom, and she said, "Really? Because you've done some pretty hard shit." And I said, so I thought about it, and I thought, yeah, I have, but this was like just half a day of straight torture where, I did summer sales and I did a Mormon mission, and those things were hard, but those things were hard for 6 months. Those things were hard for 2 years. It was a different struggle. This was 4.5 hours of pure torture. But hey, I've worn my shirts in the past. I didn't grab a shirt because I ended up just donating the shirt, so I got my medal today for you. My participation trophy. Before I get any further, this podcast, just like I always try to explain, I do it live on Facebook and YouTube and Twitch under Cadence Podcast for you to come join in the chat and or to participate however you'd like. I share it on Apple Podcasts and Spotify afterwards, if that's where you listen to it. Whatever you want to do. And then I do a 15-minute podcast called Here's the Point with Caden Kelly, where I do this same podcast, but I do it in 15 minutes or less, so that, if you feel intimidated by the 90 minutes it takes to do this one, you can go listen to that one. And that's on Instagram and also on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. But you can find links and access to everything on my blog, which is cadenkellysblog.wordpress.com. I also posted my first blog post in a while today because I have a new goal that I'm or a new intention I'm setting out with. So I've talked, I point everyone to my blog all the time, and I haven't been writing for a long time, and that's my fault. I just haven't been committed to it. And I recently, my brother left on a mission, a Mormon mission, and I've thought a lot about the people who wrote me regularly with life updates and asking me how I was doing, but also sending inspiring stuff and messages and scriptures and things. So I'm in a unique position where I read books every week and I talk and I do the podcast, and I should also be writing about them. And then I'm going to write it. So what I'm going to do is write about them every week as well and share the writing with my brother on his mission. So he's like the spark that has reignited this intention to write. But you can find the blog entries at the same website, cadenkellysblog.wordpress.com. And yeah. Besides that, man, I am so sore from that race. The race was an absolute ass kicker. We did 2 supers. I did a super in November and I did a super in May in Montana, 10Ks with obstacles. And this one was a 21K. The Beast is a 21K with 35 obstacles. I believe doesn't say on the trophy. Oh, 30 obstacles. Yeah. 21 kilometers, 30 obstacles. So that was my race, and I'll tell you, I talked a little bit about it in my blog this morning, but just to say that it was. Turns out that this is their Spartans championship course. So it's extremely difficult. It's a snow basin, and you run up the mountain. You basically run up the mountain, and then you run back down, and it's so hard. We knew that it was going to be hard because the website said it'll have 5,300 feet of elevation. So we anticipated the climb, but I've never seen 5,300 feet. And anyway, I've been doing trail running and lifting and all that stuff, so I felt like I was pretty prepared. But when you see 5,300 feet of elevation gain, it's a completely different animal. It was inclined for 5 or 6 miles, and then you go down that and everyone loves the downhill because it's easier, but it's so steep that it's like it kills to go downhill as well. Downhill's almost just as hard as going up. No, it's not as hard, but it's hard on your body and requires a different kind of strength and focus. Oh, I wasn't as prepared for it as I thought I was going to be or as I wanted to be. I was feeling really, really good up until like mile 8, and I like collapsed. What sucked too was so really all of the gain was for the first 8 miles. And the climb, rather. And I thought I was pacing myself pretty well. But, 13 and a half miles, 21 kilometers, that's a lot longer than I ran 13 and a half. I ran 13.1, ran a half marathon the week before the race with a place that had 1,600 feet of elevation gain. So it was, it was hard, but it was not even close to the same ballpark. It wasn't the same experience. I was still able to jog through most of that, the training, but this race, it was like 8 miles of just straight incline. And I thought I was paced pretty well, but what sucked, what really hurt me was most of the obstacles were saved for the end as well. So there were a few walls that we climbed, and there was some pipeline that you climbed through, like some not easy, but easier obstacles. And then at the end, they saved the really hard ones, like the not the farmer carry, but the Atlas carry and the bucket carry and the sandbag carry, where you put a 100-pound sandbag on your back, and then you go through a loop. It's not a long loop, but down a hill and then back up the hill. You do that with the bucket. Do that with the sandbag. And then there's a bunch of monkey bars. And anyway, they saved that for the end. So after I thought I was feeling good, I just crashed. I fucking crashed. So I was, if I had the endurance that I had for the first 8 miles through the whole race, I probably could have finished in 3.5 hours, but I didn't. And it was like the first time in my life where I was pushing myself so hard where I was going to black out. Either I have been training really well in the past, or that I haven't ever been pushing myself that hard where I didn't, I haven't felt like I was going to black out in the past, but there were a few times you're picking up the Atlas ball. It was like 100-pound ball of iron. You walk it around a pole. You pick it up and haul it around. Jeez, and then I throw it down, and I feel like my body's going to collapse. And plus, I had cramps that I've never experienced before, and yesterday and today, I've been sore in places of my body that I've never been sore before. It's been a hell of a weekend, but as hard as I went on Saturday, I doubled that. I double went lazy times 2 on Sunday yesterday. I sat on the couch and I didn't move for 18 hours, and it felt very good. My body feels really. And I did a little bit of light exercise today, and my body's still just trashed. I tried doing something, and my shoulder was like, "Dude, you're still broken." So, race was good. Probably won't do that again. I said last week that I'm gonna do it, and then I might not do it again, and not because I don't think it's a worthy challenge, but because what I've learned through this experience is the amount of time it takes to be a really good runner or racer, at least a Spartan racer. It requires a ton of time to be a decent racer, and all of these guys that I talked to that were top performers have been doing the races for a while, have done several beasts, have done longer races as well, and that's all they trained for. So when 2 weeks ago or a week and a half ago when I ran my 13.1 training, it took me 2.5 hours, and I thought, I could be doing, I could do others. I don't love this. I don't want to spend 2.5 hours every weekend training or every other day to really improve my time and to improve my conditioning, my strength. I'd have to spend that much more time training, which would mean I'd be doing less of what I like to do or things that I enjoy, like this podcast and my business and playing pickleball, playing video games. I've been mountain biking lately. There's a lot of other things that I want to do too. So I was talking about this with my dad over the week after the race. He came and said hi, and I realized he's like, you'll never, or I said, I don't ever have to do this again. And he said, no, but you can do the 5K. Did you not enjoy the 5K? And the 3.2 miles it's fun, and a lot more people are willing to do that. Even the 10K was fun. That one, when I did that in May, that took me 1:45, which is still a long time to be doing something pretty difficult, but 4.5 hours of torture. That was a long time, very difficult. I'm proud of myself for doing it, but I know I could have done way better, and I could do way better if I kept training and practicing, but it doesn't call to me. The race, the Spartan, it doesn't call to me. So I might not ever do it again, but I might do it again. Who knows? I'm 26. I got lots of time ahead of me to do whatever I want. But enough of that. Today, we're talking about a book that I read last week called Stillness Is The Key by Ryan Holiday, an ancient strategy for modern life. And you know what? The more and more that I read his books or that I look into Ryan Holiday, the more impressed I am with him. We've read a few of his books already. We've read Courage is Calling. We read The Obstacle Is the Way. I think we read others. What other ones have we read? Obstacle is the Way, Courage is Calling. I actually think that might be the only two. Oh, and The Ego is the Enemy. There's not an audiobook for that one. I don't know why. It was a great book. And he has audiobooks for all his other ones. I also learned that he is writing a new book that should be released in a month called, I was just looking at it, Discipline is Destiny. These are like the staples for all things wisdom and success and purpose that I've been talking about. So I love his books. I love how he writes. He doesn't, all our books have been in 3-part fashion, ABC, but he has 3 parts, but he doesn't really have chapters. He has like excerpts. He has principles that belong in each part of the principle. So, for example, for this Stillness is the Key, he has 3 parts. Part 1 is mind, part 2 is spirit, and part 3 is body. Mind, spirit, body. And then instead of they are, I guess, chapters. He doesn't say they're chapters. They're just small excerpts. So he has an excerpt called, in part 1, he has an excerpt called Become Present. Limit your inputs. Empty the mind. Slow down. Think deeply. So this is, I usually write down each chapter and get the main ideas from each chapter, but really he's just talking about the main ideas of each part. Each part is like a anyway, I like the way that he writes. So if you don't remember who Ryan Holiday is, let's see, he's got a little bio in here somewhere. Ryan Holiday is one of the world's foremost thinkers and writers on ancient philosophy and its place in everyday life. He's a sought-after speaker and strategist and is the author of many best-selling books, including The Daily Stoic, The Obstacle is the Way, Ego is the Enemy, and Lives of the Stoics. His books have been translated into over 30 languages. He lives outside Austin, Texas with his family. This book was written in 2019. And I don't remember the order of all of his other books. This paperback edition first published in 2020. So, he at one point I remember him sharing the four main virtues of Stoicism and wanting to write a book on each of them. And so I've been doing a little Google searching on him on the four from the penguinrandomhouse.com website. They say at the heart of Stoicism are 4 simple virtues: courage, temperance, justice, and wisdom. He's written a book on courage. And, well, I don't know if, these other ones. So courage was, is a book called Courage is Calling. And I think his intention is to write a book on each thing. Temperance, is that what this one is with stillness? Is stillness and temperance the same thing? Temperance is absence from alcoholic drink. How about more definitions? What is the true meaning of temperance? Moderation in action, thought, or feeling. Restraint. Habitual moderation in the indulgence of appetites. That's kind of different. Or it's not exactly the same thing, but anyway. So that's the point. That's where he's headed with these books. He's got a lot of books. He writes a lot of books. And he writes the letter he writes wisdom for the Daily Stoic every day, his online blog. There's a picture of him. So anyway, let's talk about the Daily Stoic. Or rather, let's talk about Stillness Is The Key. I got to go back. I'm going to put some chapstick on. My part of running the race is 4.5 hours in the sun with no chapstick. My lips have been fried. Yeah, it feels nice. Well, thanks for being here. Thanks for listening. Stillness is the key. Stillness is to be steady while the world spins around you. The highest good, which is inner peace. Inner peace. And isn't that one of the 2 main points that we talked about last week? From the main point of everything that we've learned over the last year is purpose and peace. Inner peace is the highest good, he says. And stillness is to be steady while the world spins around you. So I've got notes from each part, and I'll go through them pretty quickly. Intro: stillness is the secret to a long list of achieving success. Quote: to unlocking whatever we are capable of in this life. Close quote. Purpose of this book is how to uncover and draw upon stillness we already possess, to find strategies and help direct our thoughts, process our emotions, to master our bodies. To hold the mind still is an extreme commitment. Stillness literally, if you think about stillness literally is not moving. And you can have, and I think his point is we can have stillness in the mind, in the spirit, and in the body, and then to have stillness at all 3 at the same time. This is basically enlightenment. but it also is it's the conduit to which we are able to. Well, there's progression in whatever we're trying to pursue, but there's also clarity when life throws its shit our way, and also problem solving. And he shares tons of examples of presidents and thinkers and warriors and generals and things like this, and how they, when they were still, they they basically executed properly. But then he shares examples of same people, like, and athletes as well, when they made mistakes or when they weren't still, and how, and the consequences thereof. So the purpose of this book is how to uncover and draw upon the stillness we already possess, to find strategies to direct our thoughts, process our emotions, and master our bodies. All right. Part 1 is the mind, stillness in the mind. Be present. Our world is full of distractions, and we naturally find discomfort in boredom. There is peace, but there is peace and clarity by experiencing, quote unquote, now, the now. More talk about distractions, right? Our world is full of distractions, and we are naturally uncomfortable when we're bored. And we've read those behavioral books. Boredom it's like the trigger to get us to do something. We don't want to be bored. No one likes to feel boredom. And boredom inherently isn't a bad thing. It's how we react to boredom, how we respond to it. Do we indulge ourselves in our pleasures and with distraction, with terrible, with any distraction, just so we're not bored, or do we use our boredom to be constructive? And do we sit with boredom sometimes to understand ourselves? This, sitting with boredom, this is stillness. Sitting with anything, this is stillness. But this is happening in the mind. There is peace and clarity by experiencing now, by experiencing the boredom or the pain or the suffering or the pleasure and the happiness that you experience now. Sit with it and experience it in your mind. Herbert Simon said, "A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention." Yes, there was this about focus. I liked that quote. A wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. Enter the void, the nothingness, for peak performance and stillness without a racing mind. This is like flow. We've kind of talked about flow, where it's the state you enter when you're like at max performance. Athletes experience this when they're like, what was the swimmer? Who is the swimmer? The Olympic swimmer we talked about. Oh, I can't remember her name. Something with an L, I believe. Anyway, it's flow though. The nothingness enter the nothingness for peak performance and stillness without a racing mind. There's a strange duality between clearing your mind and thinking deeply. I think the philosophy is to clear your mind of unconscious thoughts and fill it with conscious thought. This came from I'm going to look for a couple of the intro chapters, or these excerpts. So there is domain of the mind, become present, limit your inputs, empty the mind, slow down and think deeply. Start journaling, cultivate silence, seek wisdom, find confidence, avoid ego, let go. There's two almost controversial principles: emptying the mind, and then to think deeply, which inherently sounds like filling your mind with thoughts or going down rabbit holes. Or so what's the difference between clearing your mind and thinking deeply? Here's how I have interpreted it. There's a time and place, but also there's conscious activity and there's unconscious activity. And when you are engaged in mindless activity, mind-numbing activity, things like playing video games or watching television or eating just eating food, like or doing anything really at all, are you doing it mindfully? Are you thinking about it as you do it? Or are you doing it mindlessly because it's something to do and it's better than being bored? All right. So, conscious, exerting conscious thought and conscious effort is uh, being mindful, but you can be okay. Are you being overwhelmed by your thoughts and your actions, or are you in control of your thoughts and your actions? So maybe let me look back at my phone. Um, the philosophy is to clear your mind of unconscious thoughts and to fill it with conscious thoughts. Yeah, yeah. So clearing your mind. I'm imagining, or I'm trying to remember stories of high pressure situations that people have been in where they have to make big decisions, or any athletes when it comes to crunch time, or like I remember he talks a lot about Kennedy with the missile crisis, or with the nuclear missile crisis, the Cold War. Talks about the Cold War being filled with nonsense and then reacting emotionally and irrationally versus clearing your mind of the garbage and then filling it with conscious thought. Yeah, and then stillness requires slowing down and then contemplating what's coming into your mind and into your sphere of influence, and then making appropriate decisions, and also clearing your mind is relying, as an athlete, kind of relying on your instinct to perform properly, to do what is required of you, whatever the circumstance. So that's how. Okay, that strange duality. I guess we could keep talking about it. We don't have to. Journaling creates stillness and clearing. Yeah, and Jordan Peterson has shared, and I know a lot of people talk about journaling being a critical thinking exercise because it allows you, or really, if you're engaged in your writing, it forces you to think about what you're saying and what you're writing, forces you to contemplate ideas, and then to try to elaborate them. And it takes conscious effort to do it. And admittedly, in my writing this morning, it's been so long since I've written anything or typed anything like that in a blog. It didn't feel great. Wasn't I didn't love what I wrote, but the exercise of doing it, I'm able to write and then reread and think about it and think, do I actually feel this, or how does this make any sense, or how do these ideas tie together? You have to do that to be a conscious writer, to be a critical thinker, and doing so, it will clear your mind of garbage and allow you to focus on what you're writing about, or just focus on really on anything that's occupying your mind. So journaling, very important for stillness in the mind. He talks about seeking silence. He shares Proverbs chapter 4, verse 7, which says, well, I don't know. What I said was hold acquiring wisdom to be the best thing anyone can do. And I did Google it. And the verse in the King James Version of the Bible says, wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom. And with all thy getting, get understanding. Wisdom is the principal thing. Yeah, and isn't that what we're trying to do out here with this podcast? Improve our health, our wealth, our peace, and then what? Our wisdom. Wisdom is a funny thing because it's not, it's like, being wise is also being a really good student. Like you can't really teach wisdom. To be wise, to me, seems like always being open to learning and studying and improving, which really requires changing all the time. Some things you can be sure about, like, you can be sure about, or maybe not even sure of, but you can reinforce ideas and principles through experience and repeated learning. Just like just like our 50th book recap, there were a bunch of principles that were regurgitated by several authors that led to to a conclusion about different things. So, yeah, you can reinforce ideas, but you still, to be wise is to hear conflicting views or opinions of something that you feel like you're sure of, and to consider that in your philosophy. To be wise, to say that we know the answers to everything is not wise. It's closed-minded and arrogant. So wisdom's an interesting thing in that regard. Final quote from part 1: Don't feed insecurity. Don't feed illusions of grandeur. Both are obstacles to stillness. Don't feed insecurity. Don't feed illusions of grandeur. Both are obstacles to stillness. Yeah, don't feed weakness, and don't feed your ego. Basically. Yeah. So that's stillness in the mind. Let's go to part 2, spirit. We are incapable of seeing what is essential in the world if we are blind to what's going on within us. I'll say that again. Quote, we are incapable of seeing what is essential in the world if we are blind to what's going on within us. This isn't in our brain. It's not our thoughts this time. It's the quote unquote spirit. It's our emotions. The subtitle to spirit, what page is that? 85. Spirit. Oh no, it's just spirit. Epictetus said, most of us would be seized with fear if our bodies went numb and would do everything possible to avoid it. Yet we take no interest at all in the numbing of our souls. Spoken by a man a couple thousand years ago. Still crazy. People have been thinking deeply for a long ass time. Every idea that I think is original, someone's already written a book about it, or someone's already talked about it before the internet was invented. Nothing really is original anymore. We're elaborating on all the same ideas. Yeah, there's not even really new ideas anymore. It's interesting to think about. Oh, baby. Yeah, we're incapable of seeing what is essential in the world if we're blind to what's going on within us. This is so to have. Well, I'll just keep going. The Stoics believe virtue is the highest good. It is, quote, a sense of pure rightness that emerges from the soul from the actions we take, close quote. Virtue is a sense of pure rightness that emerges from the soul from the actions we take. We can choose to be good or we can choose to be bad. Okay, that's how I interpreted it. I took a lot of quotes later on. Yeah, realizing a lot of my notes are just quotes. Quote, to have an impulse and resist it, to sit in with it and examine it, to let it pass by like a bad smell. This is how we develop spiritual strength. This is how we become who we want to be in this world. Only they know that real pleasure lies in having a soul that's true, stable, happy, and secure. Back to stillness in discomfort, or sitting with discomfort. We're influenced by we've experienced distractions, and then we want to do something to fill the void. So we distract ourselves with X, Y, and Z. And the pro to that is if we do it consciously and we are paying attention to what we fill our mind and our body with. It can be extremely productive. Our distractions can be really good for us. But if we do it mindlessly, they can destroy us. Okay, I think we've said that before already. So, what he's saying here is when we have an impulse and resist it and examine it, we develop spiritual strength. It requires mental focus to, like, for example, you finish. Okay, a direct example for me, back in the day when I'd come home from cleaning carpets and I would make dinner, I would DoorDash dinner, and I'd either go straight to video games or straight to social media and just, you know, totally drown myself in something else. And it's really, even still to this day, it's really hard to just, to come home and to sit down and to not do anything. If you, after being stimulated all day or to be thinking and working all day, I want to change the energy from focused attention to mindless, numbing distraction, because it's way easier and it's like short bursts it's like a short burst drug. It's a hit of a drug. So I enjoy the rush. I think everyone, that's why it's so enticing. Everybody enjoys the rush of getting a hit of social media or video games or food or porn or all of these short-term distractions. But what he's saying is, if you experience coming home from work and instead of doing that, you sit and resist the urge to do whatever it is, and you think about it, you're building mental and spiritual toughness, otherwise known as resilience. This is how we become who we want to be in this world. Only they know that real pleasure lies in having a soul that's true, stable, happy, and secure. We think about what we do when we feel the urge to distract ourselves with something, and we make conscious efforts to do the right thing for our bodies and for our minds and for our spirits. This is stillness, to have the urge and to resist it, but also to think about it. It's like, I guess it's like meditation. You're meditating on the thoughts and the desires that you have, and then making a decision based on what's good for you, not based on what's going to satisfy this urge the quickest or the deepest or something like that. Another quote: "No one achieves excellence or enlightenment without the desire to get better." Close quote. Yet, the need for progress often robs you of enjoying it. You need to know when enough is enough. There's another strange dichotomy about being satisfied with what you have and what you're accomplishing versus how much do I sacrifice to achieve or to succeed. But the note I said is, the need for progress often robs you of enjoying. I said enjoying it, which is probably the desire to get better. This is, this has been proven by the scientists who do the behavioral books, who explain the pursuit of a drug feels better than receiving the reward of the drug, which is why people get addicted to gambling. They don't get addicted to gambling because they win at gambling. They get addicted because of the feeling that comes with a near win, which is a loss. But we get addicted to the feeling of almost winning. So we keep chasing this thought of winning. But it happens on all levels. We get addicted to the chase, or rather the high is greater with the chase than it is with obtaining the reward. So, but then we say the need for progress often robs us of enjoying it. We need to know when enough is enough. Leaving in a higher power. Maybe I meant to say letting in. Letting in a higher power isn't about going to church. It's about letting go. Accepting you were never in control in the first place. Be it the Christian God, Allah, Mother Nature, or fate. Even if there is no God and we were created through evolution, we are created by something greater than us. Yeah, actually listened to this part a couple times because I'm not a spiritual person, but I don't want to be arrogant. So I want to listen to the message, and he says he uses AA or the 12-step pro. Hey, B Moon in the chat with some puppies. What's up, bro? What's up, puppies? I want to want to hear the message still. So the idea is incorporating, believing, or giving all, letting go to a higher power isn't about it isn't about God, or how does he say, going to church. It's about letting go that you were ever in control of anything in the first place. He also talks about oneness in the sense that, whether you believe in the Christian God, that we're all brothers and sisters spiritually created by a loving Father in heaven, or that we are all biological creatures of Mother Nature. We're all one in some way. And accepting this is letting go. It's letting go that you are in control of everything that happens in your life. And if one of the biggest lessons we've learned from these books is that to experience peace in life, especially when we experience suffering or pain, is to accept that not everything that happens to us is in our control. In fact, like I said, very little. What's actually in control usually is a lot less than you think. Usually, the only thing that happens to us that's in our control is how we respond to whatever's happening. God, my nose is so itchy. I'm sorry. I keep itching it. We're only. Well, yeah, my nose just really distracted me. I'm really sorry. We're not in control of hardly anything, no, good or bad, that happens to us. All we can do is act and react physically and mentally to whatever's happening, at the very least. And sometimes we can't even do those things because of some people. I keep referencing Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning, where he was involuntarily subjected to some horrible things. We can control usually how we respond, or like our circumstances. You can choose to go to the gym. You can choose to work on your marriage. You can choose to improve your education and go to school and study. But you can't get out of a prison if you are taken prisoner. Or, dramatic example, but that's just what goes through my head. Think about Frankl. But in any case, we can always control how we react. And how did that tie into what I was just talking about? That we were never in control? Yeah. Okay, so letting go of this notion that we're 100% in control of how our lives go. It's not true. We're born, in my belief, I believe at the very least we're all created with the same material from the universe by Mother Nature, and through evolution, whatever. There's no divine power behind it. No God in heaven on a cloud dictating or deciding our lives, or even just monitoring our lives. It's just all nature, but the higher power is nature. Mother Nature is the higher power. Wherever she came from, or however she created humans, she created us. And we're here experiencing life, and at the whim of Mother Nature. She gave us desire, and she gave us cravings, and she gave us the human experience, and that's all we have is just is how we experience life. And so the only thing we can control is how we respond to the things that happen in our lives. All right. This is Stillness in the Spirit. Quote, by ourselves we are a fraction of what we can be. This is oneness. This is accepting oneness. Quote, we have to be aware of desire but conquer anger. Close quote. I don't know. I can't remember the context behind that. We have to be aware of desire but conquer anger. I don't know how those two go together. It's good to be aware of desire, and it's always good to conquer anger. Anyway. Quote, we have to strengthen the body as the physical level. We have to strengthen the body as the physical vessel for the mind and spirit, subject to the capriciousness of the physical world. So that's the segue to part 3, which is body. We have to strengthen our body as the physical vessel for the mind and spirit, subject to the capriciousness of the physical world. So, yeah, this is being, we can be still mentally with our thoughts. We can be still spiritually with our emotions. And those are all subject to our body, being still in our body physically. So, the first excerpt's called Say No. He says, always think about what you're really being asked to give, because the answer is often a piece of your life. Close quote. Does this not sound exactly like what the Your Money or Your Life lady said when she says your time your time is your life energy. So consider everything that you do as your life energy. Me right here sitting in front of my computer talking into a microphone is me giving part of my life to something. And you sitting at your desk at your job or in your car driving somewhere, you're giving your life right now to do something. So physically, consider what it is what you're giving for what reward, and is it worth your life energy? What you give your time to is, oh, I fucked that quote up. What you give is your time, and your time is your life. Okay, now that makes sense. Quote, a good routine is the platform from which fulfilling and stimulating work is possible. Routine becomes ritual. Have we not talked endlessly about routine? But I love the routine becomes ritual. And it's not, when people say practice makes perfect, it's practice makes habits, or practice makes routine. Practice makes what we do. So you want your routine to be excellent if you want to be excellent. You need your practice to be excellent if you want to be excellent. A good routine is the platform from which fulfilling and stimulating work is possible. Fulfilling and stimulating, is that not the purpose side of the podcast from last time? We talking about practice. Yeah. Did you watch Ted Lasso? Because we just finished Ted Lasso yesterday, and there was a whole section about, we're talking about practice. Yeah, that's exactly what we're talking about. Quote, order is a prerequisite of excellence, and good habits are a safe haven of certainty. Order is a prerequisite of excellence, and good habits are a safe haven of certainty. There's another quote for habits. Good habits. Order is a prerequisite of excellence. Quote, the purpose of ritual is to settle our bodies and minds down when fortune is our opponent on the other side of the net. The purpose of ritual is to settle our bodies and minds down when fortune is our opponent on the other side of the net. Yeah, I'm going to see if I can Google and find that swimmer, Olympic swimmer, Ledecky. Yeah, Katie Ledecky. So the reason, okay, I bring her up because ritual allows us to remain focused and still when, like, you practice for the hard shit when it comes up, before it comes up. So that's why I tried to train for my race. I thought I had trained adequately, and then I showed up, and I was feeling really good for a lot of it, but not as well as a lot of other people who have have experienced it before, and two, have been training longer than I have. I only exerted so much time and energy into training for the race that I could only experience so much. What are the words he uses? I could only settle my body and my mind down so far. Those people the top performers of the race and the what would you call, like, the people who return to do it all the time, they were at more peace. They could experience a deeper flow because it was a familiar situation and they've been training for it before. And this Katie Ledecky swimmer, who is, when we talk about grit with Angela Duckworth, she was able to compete at the Olympic level and experience almost no stress because of the time that she's put into her routine. which like Holiday says, becomes ritual. So we practice our rituals so that when the time comes to perform, we can settle our bodies and settle our minds. This is why it's so important to subject ourselves regularly to hard things. If you live your whole life by either just floating by or by constantly numbing and never seeking discomfort, then when the shitty things happen, because they always happen, you won't be able. You can't respond properly. You can't. Like, for example, we talked about this the whole drive home from the race. I felt peace in my mind because I knew what I did was hard, and I trained as much as I could. And as we were talking, like I do hard shit. I don't do the hardest shit. I'm not the toughest motherfucker out there, but I challenge myself daily. I get up early. I go to the gym. I do yoga. I've been running. I've been doing hard shit. So my mind is tough. It's not as tough as it could be, and it's not the toughest one out there, but it's tough. So I'm thinking, we were talking on the way home, and I thought, along this line of thought, when shitty things happen, like, for example, if you have a loved one close to you dies, if anybody dies that you know or that you care about, how are you going to respond? People who regularly subject themselves to hard things will respond better because of this principle of routine and ritual. If if your spouse dies, or a sibling or a friend or parent dies tragically, God forbid, you're able to embrace the reality of it and react better to it, because again, the only way to endure suffering well is to focus on what's in your control and then respond properly. And this is what stillness is. When shit happens, can you be still? Can you be still mentally, physically, and spiritually, and then respond properly? So subjecting ourselves to voluntary suffering, like getting up early and going to the gym and training for something hard, and daily rituals, mundane practice, doing things that are important to us when we don't want to, working on our relationships, making hard decisions that are good for us, thinking about them. When we do the hard things today, our future self will be stronger mentally, physically, spiritually. That's the meat of this. That's the meat of this whole thing. The purpose of ritual is to settle our bodies and minds down when fortune is our opponent on the other side of the net. John Boyd, who was a guy that advised presidents, said, "If a man can reduce his needs to zero, he is truly free." Close quote. And then you can be still. Do you want to covet less? Give more away. This goes hand in hand with the Robert Kiyosaki says, "I don't want to live below my means. I want to make enough money that I can live within my means, but do it responsibly." And Stoics and yogis preach that true freedom comes in requiring very little. If you require X, Y, and Z to be happy or to have peace, then you're that much more a slave to those things. Like if I needed a big house to be at peace, or if I needed to have 6 cars, or I needed, whatever, I will be that much more a slave to those things. But if I can live without them, if I can experience peace without things, I will be more free in all areas. This is John Boyd. If a man can reduce his needs to zero, he will truly be free. It is difficult to understand yourself if you have never spent time with yourself alone consciously, or if you don't meditate, if you don't spend time thinking about your thoughts, spend time in discomfort or in boredom or in suffering, instead of constantly trying to drown yourself in distractions or drown yourself with pleasures and pleasant things, focusing on yourself and what your body needs. And when you experience hard things, or when you experience anything, You won't know who you are if you have never spent time with yourself alone consciously. He echoes Celeste Headlee regarding overwork. Life is a marathon. Daily effort should be met with pace. Regarding high achievers like Cameron Haynes, his sacrifice is longevity. Yeah, and I was talking with my friends, with a couple friends from the race on Saturday. There are things, these top performers like Katie Ledecky. She's a world-class athlete, and the sacrifice is this is my high achiever versus well-rounded philosophy. You can be well-rounded at everything in your life, but you can't be a high achiever in any area. You can be really good at everything, but you can't be world-class or high achiever or excellent, because to be well-rounded requires sacrificing the excellence. But if you want to be a high achiever at anything, the sacrifice is the well-roundedness. But in any case, we don't achieve any kind of success overnight or in a day or even in a year. We achieve success by, what does Duckworth say? Daily effort, consistent effort daily is everything. Oh, I got to find that because that was the quote. It's got to be right here. Consistency of effort over the long run. That's how you succeed. Consistency of effort over the long run. That is everything. So, regardless of what you're trying to achieve, whether you're trying to be well-rounded or a high achiever, it's consistency of effort. You got to understand your sacrifices with your actions, and you got to do it consciously to be. You got to be aware of yourself if you want to experience peace and you don't want to sabotage other people and your relationships. But it's consistency of effort over the long run. Arthur Schopenhauer says, "Sleep is the interest we pay on the capital which is collected at death." This was an excerpt about sleep, how important sleep is. And I liked the analogy that we're loaned life. We're given life, right? We didn't earn it. We didn't create it ourselves. Again, nothing really is in our control at all. We were given life by whatever higher power we subject ourselves to. And sleep is the interest that we pay on that loan. And then when we die, he says that death is when the capital is called in, when we give back the loan, or we pay off the loan. That's from Arthur Schopenhauer. I like the analogy. I had to share it. Quote from Holiday: "Your mind and soul are incapable of peace when it is battling for survival." So for you, he says too, I didn't write this down, but I remember him saying, some people are better at operating without as much sleep as others. I really feel like I'm at peak performance, or I'm at, like, my body feels the best and my mind feels the best when I get like 8.5 to 9 hours of sleep, which is a long time. And I don't want to sleep that long. I want to sleep for 4 hours and be able to go kick ass, but I'm too tired and I feel like shit. And I really want to be healthy for as long as possible. So I get a lot of sleep. I try to get a lot of sleep, 8.5 to 9 hours. And he says some people really can operate and be healthy and do well with less sleep. But everybody knows that everyone does better and feels better with more sleep. That's just the bottom line. Regardless of however much sleep you actually need, everybody needs some sleep, and everybody does better with more sleep. This is how we experience stillness when our body. How does he say? When we're battling for survival, we can't be still. Our body's in fight or flight mode, and we are sabotaging our well-being and our ability to be still and make good decisions. Leisure isn't an absence of activity. It is activity. What is absent is the external justification, like pay or reward or admiration. This is again a lot about Celeste Headlee her whole book is about leisure and having more leisure and the benefits of leisure. Leisure isn't about being lazy. Leisure is about doing something but not needing justification for it. So it's like your hobbies. It's just things that you love. You do your job to pay your bills, but then you do your hobbies. And sometimes people's hobbies pay their bills, but they don't do it because of their bills. They do it because that's what gives them purpose in life. And if I remember right, he shares Winston Churchill, who was a big politician, right? He was the prime minister for England during World War II, but his hobby, he liked to lay bricks. He was a bricklayer first, and he wasn't the best at it. He said, I remember Holiday saying he often needed to be corrected, but he loved to lay bricks and he loved to paint. And he wasn't known for his painting. He wasn't known for his bricklaying. He was known for being prime minister. That was his job. But his hobby, that's what sustains him. That's your hobby, your leisure is what sustains you through your activity. It's important to incorporate leisurely time in our lives. Go read Do Nothing by Celeste Headley. Go read this. It's very important. Leisure isn't laziness. I was very lazy yesterday. I watched TV and I played video games on the couch. I didn't move for 18 hours, 16 hours, whatever. Very lazy. Leisure can be laying bricks. He talked about another guy whose leisure time was cutting down trees, painting, writing, whatever. It's activity, but it's activity without reward or activity without justification for doing it. People are like, well, why do you spend so much time knitting if you're not making any money doing it? Because that's not why I'm doing it. I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it because it satisfies me. It makes me, the reward is the activity. Doing the thing is the act. This podcast for me I'm not doing it for any money. I've been doing it for over a year, and I lose money every year because I buy 2 of the same book. I buy the physical copy and the audiobook, and I make $0. So I'm buying, I may have covered 50 books, but I bought 100 books, right? So, but I don't do it for the money. I do it because of the reward from the activity, which is, I don't even do it for the reward. I do it because of the activity. It helps me be a better person. All right, we're almost done. Escapism, the excerpt from Escapism. You can't run away from your choices. You can only face them and fix them. Why do we like, oh yeah. Yeah, okay. Well, the point is you can't run away from your choices. You can only face them and fix them. If you've made mistakes, all you can do is fix them. Well, or an irresponsible person would justify bad choices, but a responsible person faces them and works to fix them and reconciles with the mistakes. Why do we like to take vacations? Why do we like to do anything? To escape? Well, get to know yourself. Build a life you do not have to escape from. Yeah, I struggle with vacations because I like to be home and do my thing. I really do. I don't like to travel, and I don't like to, I like to see, okay, when we go on vacation, what I really want to do is relax. So I'm like, I could just relax at home. I have all my stuff at home. But when we go out, the things that I like to do are usually competitive. Like I like to play sports and games, and I like to, this sort of thing. I don't love to sit at a beach and drink alcohol or go to a club, to shop around and it's all, everyone has their own distractions and their own things that they love to do. I'm not knocking it. It's just me. I don't like to do those things. When I'm lazy, I sit we watch TV or we play video games, or I do rather. And then when I'm in my leisurely activity, I'm playing pickleball or golf or mountain biking or the podcast or writing, things that require effort out of me, but I'm not getting paid to do them. And I could do all those things from my house. I guess I could travel to, like I did travel to do the Spartan races. That was fun. I could travel to mountain bike. I could go play pickleball in other places or tennis or golf. I just don't have a crazy desire to do that either. It requires a lot of money. I don't have a lot of money. Anyway, I struggle with vacations, but the point is, do we do the vacations and we do the shopping? Do we do the getting drunk at the beach or going to the clubs because we're trying to escape from our lives? The philosophy is create a life you don't have to escape from. I don't feel like I have to escape from my life. I every day I'm working on my business, working on my podcasts and my books, working on my health, wealth, peace, and wisdom, and I'm really happy doing it. I don't need to go out, travel the world to satisfy that. And I'm not running from anything that I do in my day. I'm really happy where I'm at. And I get that. I guess not everybody is in that position. A lot of people don't like their lives or how their time is divvied out, and they need the distraction. So, yeah, there's your hierarchy of needs that I spent a lot of time talking about last week. There's who I think I still got it right here. Who said? Oh no, I got rid of it. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I just remembered. So yeah, Maslow's hierarchy. Once your 5 basic principal needs are met, you can work on improving small things in your life, but that will have a significant impact on your well-being. Quote, you have to do good and be good to feel good. Love that. Learning how to live well is futile if we do not learn how to die well. That's how the book ends. How can we live well if we don't know how to die well? This, and that's a direct call to, or direct reference to his other book, Courage is Calling. To live well really is to die well, to learn how to die well, to learn how to deal with suffering well. That's how you live well. Life is full of really beautiful and great, pleasant things. It's also filled with a bunch of bullshit and shitty experiences. And if we don't know how to react to those things well, we can't live well. If we don't know how to deal with hardship as they come to us well, which is really easy to say as a guy who doesn't have a ton of hard things that happens to me regularly. A lot of people live with a lot of struggle all the time, but that doesn't mean the principle isn't true. We need to learn how to live, how to die well, how to deal with suffering well, to live well. This is Stillness in the Body. I love this book, Stillness is the Key by Ryan Holiday. Body, mind, and spirit. Basically, understanding who we are inside and out, and be conscious in all our decisions and our thoughts, understand our emotions. Yeah. I'm not going to read it next week. It's not, but I can't wait to read Discipline is Destiny by Ryan Holiday when that comes out. It'll just be another book from one of the world's foremost thinkers, as he's described, of ancient philosophy. So, thanks for tuning in. Hey, B Moon, thanks for showing up in the chat. And for those of you who want to check out the shorter version, you could go. I assume if you listen to this longer version, you're probably not going to, but you can find the shorter version on Spotify and Apple Podcasts as well. You can find my writing and blog from my blog, CadenKellysBlog.wordpress.com. You can go to my Instagram or my Twitter or my TikTok and find the links to everything. And if you have suggestions for books, I've been getting a lot of suggestions for books lately. I got a long list of books to read. We go through them once a week again, and you can reach out to me on any of those outlets. Otherwise, we'll be here next week for it'll be July 18th. Yeah. So we should be rocking and rolling. Starting later and later for these. Yeah, I know my timing's been weird. I just been doing work in the morning, trying to get my team ready to go. I've been when I do the podcast earlier, and then the day's getting started, but there's questions about how to get started, and then I'm interrupted. So I'd rather get my team going before I zone out for 2 hours. So that's my bad. It's random. I get it. Starting exactly one game of Val. Yeah, of course I do. It's my lunchtime, so let's do it. Okay, next week. We'll see you then. Thanks for showing up, everyone. Have a good one.
読み直しているだけがで読み直しているで読み直している